What's up YouTube, it's GhostRider15 here, back at it again with another GOAT format video. And today's video is going to be my replay reviews of my FLC run that I just finished playing. I'm going to show off all the top 16 matches, so that will include top 16, top 8, top 4, and the finals. So I'm going to separate this into two different videos. The first video is going to be top 16 and top 8. And then the second video is going to be top 4 and the final. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the video. Alright, so I'm playing against It's Gucci in top 16. I know he's on burn, by the way. So I win the RPS, I'll be going first. So my opening hand is Raigeki Break, Crossout, Knight Assailant, Sangan, Sorcerer, and Graceful. Pretty good hand. So I had to think about it here for a while, and because I know he's on burn, I think it's better to just fire the Graceful right away. I really can't afford to wait against burn. You just want to beat them down as soon as possible. So that's what I do. So I draw a heavy, ring, and fortunately I get a flip. The obvious discards are Knight Assailant and Faith. I get back Faith. So I know that It's Gucci is playing Mind Control in his main deck, so I'm pretty scared of that, to be honest. So I end up actually setting the Sangan first. I set Raigeki Break because it's the most versatile one. So he normals Breaker. Now I feel pretty dumb not setting the ring instead. But you know what? It is what it is. I'm going to end up using this Raigeki Break and making a bit of a controversial play. I'm actually going to end up discarding my Magician of Faith because if you can see here, I already have a Dark. And that'll put a Light Engrave to make Sorcerer alive. And I can just start swinging, doing a bunch of damage right away, which is really good against burn. He sets one, passes it to me. So I just go ahead and slam the Breaker, or slam the Sorcerer, because I know he's playing burn. Burn doesn't play real traps. So we just go ahead and go all out. This is how you're supposed to play against burn. Especially game 1 when you don't have that many answers. So he sets one monster, sets 3 back row, 4 back row, and passes it to me. I have heavy, so I'm not worried. I draw Raigeki for turn. So here, I think his set monster is a Morphine Jar because he said everything. The good thing is I have the knock. I know he plays cards like, he plays Big Shield Gardna, but even if it is a Gardna, I have the Sorcerer to banish it. So it's still a 1-for-1. So standby. He activates Oljama Trio to lock me out of summoning monsters. I summon my tokens, but he wants to get very technical about it, which is fine with me, you know. He gives me the Jama tokens, and then I activate Crossout. So he chains Secret Barrel, has Chain Link 2. And I take the damage. I'm assuming he just wants to do that extra 200. And it is Gardna, so I go ahead and banish it with Sorcerer. No reason to take life points here. So I attack directly with Sangan. He Mirror Forces me, which I am okay with because Sangan gives me a monster in return, and I free up 2 zones, so I'm not locked. And he chains Just Desserts to do the most amount of damage as possible, which is 2500. A bit unfortunate, but I do chain the Ring of Destruction and take a bit less damage. So now I only take 23 instead of 25. You never know, that extra 200 might end up mattering in this matchup. And for some reason, I accidentally get rid of the tokens. I was just not paying too much attention at right now in this moment. And I give him back, or he gives me back the tokens. I search for Sanguine's effect, get Faith. I set Faith because, as you can see, I have Charity, Knock, Heavy, the best cards against Burn. I set the Break if I really had to discard this Solemn. And I pass it back to him. He only has 2 cards. I'm feeling pretty good here. He top decks Premature, but his only target is Breaker, so I'm perfectly fine with that. So he attacks. I get back Charity. And he sets a monster. So I'm actually really worried that that can be a Morphine Jar or a Cyber Jar. But I graceful to see what I get. So I keep 2 Solemns just in case that's a Morphine Jar or Cyber Jar. Yeah, I'm fine with paying the life points because he's in top deck E mode. So he'll have to top deck the answer anyways. Plus I have Raigeki, so even if he does top deck the answer, I can go end phase Raigeki. I just go ahead and immediately fire the Raigeki break. Because I guess my plan was just I didn't want to take life points on this. But yeah, maybe I could have just gone Solemn instead. Wait for him to flip it. I don't know. And it does turn out to be Morphine Jar. So that was a pretty good hit. He attacks. I take the 300. And he sets another monster, which is scary because there's still Cyber Jar. I top deck into BLS. And it takes me a while to see it, but I realize that I actually have game here. Because all I have to do is Raigeki break the set monster, attack with BLS directly in this game. And yeah, I take game 1, which is always a really good feeling against Burn. If you're able to steal game 1, you're in really good shape. On to game 2. So my opening hand is Saku, Jar of Greed, Breaker, Thunder Dragon, Mask of Darkness. So Mask of Darkness is a card that really shines in this matchup because it has a lot of implications. You can use it to attack under level limit area B or Gravity Bind. It can recycle back cards like Raigeki Break or Torrential Tribute for the Ojama tokens. So yeah, pretty good card. He sets 2, passes it back to me. I top deck Pot of Greed, which is really nice. So I just go ahead and add my Thunders. Pot of Greed, draw heavy BLS. This opening is pretty good. I can't complain. So I go ahead and just set Saku and Jar along with the mask. The reason I don't summon Breaker is because usually Burn sets something chainable right away, like Ojama Trio or like Secret Barrel. So thankfully he only flips a rat and he does not flip a Morphine Jar or Cyber Jar. That would have been devastating. He summons Lily, which I'm okay with. I have the Saku. But I decided to Saku the rat because I have BLS to get rid of the Lily. He decides not to attack, which I'm fine with because the Mask of Darkness can recycle back the Sakuretsu armor if needed. He sets a back row, passes it to me, I activate the jar. My draw for turn is Sanguine. Ooh, Tsukiyomi's actually pretty good here because I can set this Mask of Darkness again. But first I activate Heavy. So I take the damage from Secret Barrel. Get back Saku because I don't want to lose to stuff like Panda or this Lily. So here I set the Mask of Darkness, and I actually decide to end up attacking to bait out the Lily effect, so I can summon BLS main phase 2. Maybe that's a bit greedy because I do take a pretty hefty amount of damage. Maybe I could have just set this Saku and waited. But yeah, I end up taking the damage, bring out BLS. You know, in my mind, I'm just thinking like, I gotta end this game as soon as possible. I want to bring out BLS right away. So he sets 3, sets a monster, passes. Again, I have to be worried about Morphine Jar. But, I mean, I have BLS, so I'm not too worried, but my suspicion is that he set something like Ring of Destruction to stop the BLS from ending up banishing the new monster he just set. But it turns out to be 2 level limit area Bs. I'm not sure why he did it this way in this order, but yeah. So anyways, I draw for turn. It's Torrential, which is pretty nice in case I end up getting locked by Ojama tokens. And it does end up turning out to be Morphine Jar. I think this was probably a misplay by Itsuguchi, because if he has double level limits, then there's no reason to set the jar because this BLS can't attack anyway. So like you can probably like wait until you draw an answer to BLS and then set your jar. But yeah, anyways, I activate the effect of Thunder Dragon because I'm pretty low on life points, like halfway gone. I'm at 41. So I don't want to take a lot of damage from Secret Barrel. So I add the Jar of Greed with Mask of Darkness effect because that is my only target at the moment. And here, this is what I was talking about earlier in the video, where Mask of Darkness is actually really good against burn because it gets around level limit area B. So Sangan plus Mask of Darkness is actually gonna do 1900 damage, which is actually pretty good for being under level limit area B. So I just said all my back roll and pass. He top decks pot, a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Summons exiled. So here he just decides to get rid of the BLS. But actually, yeah, that makes sense because if he attempts to attack Mask of Darkness, I can just go ahead and Sakuretsu armor. So yeah, that's the correct play by Itsuguchi. Okay, so here I top deck Magician of Faith, which is a bit controversial. You're gonna see something that's a bit controversial because I actually don't end up setting this Magician of Faith, despite me having Heavy Storm in the graveyard. So the reason being is that I know Itsuguchi side decks, or even main decks, Mind Control. So if you take a look at his grave, he already has Pot. And if he has Mindcon, I think I just almost straight up lose because giving the burn player card advantage is actually way too broken because if they have too much card advantage, that means that they're going to easily burn you. So I just go ahead and activate the jar first. I draw into another jar, and I just go ahead and swing. So I set the jar and pass. I don't even summon the breaker because if he has just desserts, I'm gonna take more damage than needed. So yeah, and if he has Ojama Trio, it's not the worst thing because I have Torrential. He draws for turn. He summons Sangan. He just sets and passes. So this is a bit awkward for him because he can't attack the mass because although he gets a +1 off of it, I am going to do a lot of damage. 1900, which is almost game. So for turn, I draw Raigeki Break, which is really good here. I activate the jar, I top deck Sorcerer. So now Sorcerer can actually banish this Sangan that he has. But I'm going to have to tribute a monster, which is fine, because I get rid of that Sangan. I do not want him searching for Cyber Jar. So I set Break and Pass. You know, I didn't set Moth because I had to tribute. And even then, I think I still wouldn't set it because I'm already committed to the theory that he has Minecon set or something. So he sets a monster, passes it back to me. Here I think about it for a sec, and I realize that I actually have game if I just normal summon this Magician of Faith and attack directly after resolving a Raigeki Break on the set monster. And as you can see here, Gucci's Mirror Force is already gone, so the only real threat is like Torrential. But you know, I think it's worth the risk, especially against Burn. So that's what I do. And then I attack. And that's GG. I end up taking it 2-0. And if you take a look at his back row, he did have the mind control, so I made a pretty good read here. It ended up working out in the end. If I would have set this Moth, he would have just gotten back his pot. I would have been in trouble. The other set was just Desserts, which wasn't really an issue at the moment. I had enough life points to survive. But yeah, that's pretty much top 16. Let's move on to top 8. So top 8, it's me versus the King 86. So my opening hand is Gravekeeper Spy, Mask of Darkness, Chaos Sorcerer, Raigeki Break, and Tsukiyomi. So this hand is not the greatest, but it's not the worst. So we can deal with it. We can try to do something. He starts off with Thunder Dragons. Sets a back row, sets a monster, passes, I draw pot. Now this hand's actually looking pretty decent. So he thinks, and I put the card back on top because he might have Solemn. He lets it go through. I draw Knight Assailant and Jar of Greed. So here, I believe I end up setting Spy because I don't want to draw another Spy after I resolve something like Jar or draw for turn. Yep, so that's what I do. I set the Raigeki Break as well. And here he activates Raigeki Break on my monster. He might end up using Heavy. This is basically what I'm thinking. But even if he does, I have Jar of Greed set and Raigeki Break set, so I'm not worried about a Heavy at the moment. He sets 2, passes it back to me, but on the end phase, I'm going to hit one of them. I get back Spy with NA. The reason I didn't end up Raigeki breaking the monster is because he didn't do anything with it, and I'm thinking it's like a Sinister or a Sangan. Speaking of Sinister, I draw Sinister for turn. I go ahead and activate the jar, draw my own Sangan, and here, I think I end up just setting the Spy again. Yeah. And pass turn. He just passes turn without doing anything, so I'm just really thinking this is like Tsukiyomi, Sinister, or Sangan set. So I go ahead and summon my other Spy. I swing because I really want to find out what that is. And here he activates Raigeki Break, which gives me the hint that this is a monster he does not want to be destroyed. This Regeki break here, or this ring here, is giving me the hint that it's not Sinister, it's not Sangan, it's not Tsukiyomi. So what can it really be? I said a monster the turn before. He didn't flip it, so it's not Night Assailant. So then, after a while of thinking about it, I made the read that it's Magician of Fate. Sounds weird because there's no spells in his grave, and like, why would he set it, right? There's no spells. But that just ended up being the read that made the most sense. And as you can see here, it actually is a Magician of Fate. Anyways, I take the 12 for ring. I set the mask because I want to recycle back the Regeki Breaker, Jar Greed. So he sets a back row, passes it to me. I draw a Snatch Steal. So I get back the break, set back the mask because I want to loop this mask. Swing. And it turns out to be Mirror Force because, well, now I know for sure it's got to be Moth because he's protecting this thing way too hard. He activates Cross Out. He just passes it back to me. And I just summon Sangan, switch Spy to attack mode. Start getting aggressive. Here, I should have just swinged with Sangan, especially that I made the very correct read that it was Moth. So slight misplay by me. I missed out on 200 damage, but I don't think it ended up mattering in the long run. So he summons the main deck Kaiku. I have the Regeki break, so I'm fine with that. But now he has a Dark for Sorcerer. And I draw for turn, I draw another Sorcerer. And as you can see here, I have no lights. And here's where I actually end up probably making a misplay. I'm not sure if it's really a misplay, but I end up using the Snatch Steal on this Sork. Maybe I should have used the Tribe, discard my BLS. That way I actually have I have a Sorcerer that's live. Sounds a bit weird because I have like Sinister in my hand. And there is a chance I could top deck like Thunder Dragon to be able to make the BLS live. It's a bit risky because there's still 25 cards in my deck and no Thunder Dragons. And also, if I use Tribe to kill the Sorcerer, I end up losing my own Spy as well. So I don't know if I would consider it a misplay. It's a bit tricky. So what I end up doing is going Snatch Steal, attacking with both. He's down to 23. It's looking pretty good for me. But unfortunately, that set card was Heavy Storm. And I end up taking damage. Sets 2 back rows. I draw into ring. This would have been nice if the Snatch Steal didn't give him that extra 1,000. But it is what it is. And now I'm actually in trouble. Because this Dust Shoot's going to send back the obvious Tribe. And my hand is pretty dead. I know I have this ring, but like, I basically just have Sinister to protect myself. All three of my Chaos monsters are dead at the moment. So now I'm a bit worried that I'm actually going to lose game 1. So I just do the obvious play of setting Ring and Serpent, hoping for the best. So he summons Tribe, activates Knock, gets very aggressive, which is correct because he knows my hand. He knows he's got to get aggressive at this moment. Try to end the game before I top deck the out. So I let that go through. And I gotta get rid of that Sorcerer. So I top deck Mirror Force, which is pretty decent. I would have rather top deck Thunder Dragon, but at least Mirror Force will prevent me from losing, assuming that back row he has is fake. So he thinks about it for a while, and he actually summons the main deck Spirit Reaper. He decides to go for it all, and you know what? I don't blame him. He might as well just do it now before I top deck the out. But fortunately for me, I do have that Mirror Force that I mentioned, and I really need a Thunder Dragon. Thunder Dragon is just game over if I draw it. So I top deck Tribe, the tribe that was sent back a few turns ago. And this is actually pretty good because that's game if the attack goes through. And here, a little bit of controversial things happen. So he activates Torrential without asking for Prio. So I attempt to use Prio, and here I think that I'm able to do that, but we end up calling for a judge, and a judge rules that it's an illegal activation because I forgot exactly what he said, but yeah, the whole point is I'm not able to use Cryo here. So I just go ahead and pass. So I take 1,000. I'm in trouble now because I'm gonna end up losing to this Sangin while I have all these power cards in my hand, but I can't even summon them. This is really bad. I top deck Spy, and he's at 1,000, so if he attacks, he loses. And if you take a look at his grave, one knock is gone. So I think it's worth setting the Spy, because if I attack into the Spy, that not only thins out his deck, but it gives them a monster that can beat over this Spy. So I think it's better to just set the Spy. That's what I do and pass. And of course, he ends up top decking Knock. So it is what it is, you know. There were still 23 cards in his deck, and he drew the one Knock. So I don't know. It is what it is. So on to game 2. Game 2 is actually the pretty crazy game, by the way. So my opening hand is Knock, Breaker, MST, Spy, Sangin, and Moth. Not the greatest, but we can work with it. So here I just go ahead and risk setting the space and setting the Spy, because you know, I just want to be able to snipe a back row. So the Knock is still coming back to haunt me in game 2. So he only banishes 2 Spies, so that gives me the hint that there's one of them in his hand, unless he sided the third copy out. So he sets a back row, I end phase Typhoon, and I end up hitting Decree. Decree is something that I knew he was siding, because I saw one of his matches from earlier on in the tournament. So I was actually prepared for it. I boarded in the MST for that. So here I just go ahead and decide to Knock, because I don't want to risk it. I don't want him doing some shenanigans. It turns out to just be the third Spy, so maybe I could have just held the Knock. So I set the Faith, pass. He Mindcons, and I guess, yeah, that was a misplay on my part. I got greedy. I got really greedy. I could have just set Sangin and make him go -1 here. So he gets back the Mindcon. At least now I know I'm aware that he has it. So he sets 1, passes it to me. So I go ahead and set the Sangin, hoping that he mind cons it, but I don't think he's gonna fall for it because he's a good player. He gets back the knock, and he knocks the Sangan, of course. And he brings out Zambira. Zambira is something that I was actually not expecting, because it's not a card that you really see. I guess you see it sometimes, because like it's pretty good against like Kaiku and Spy. So it's not looking good for me. He sets one passes. So here I just gotta go for the breaker, hope for the best. I activate the Royal Decree, and now I'm gonna go ahead and attack into the Magician of Faith. I attack his monster, and I just pass turn. So he attacks with Zambira, of course. I was obviously expecting that. Sets a back row, passes it to me. I draw a Night Assailant, and here I think I end up just setting the Serpent, because I know he has Minecon, and even if he Minecons the Assailant, it's not the worst thing, but I'd rather just set the Serpent. And even if he has like Duo, I can get back the Magician of Faith with Night Assailant. Actually, I just end up passing turn. Now I draw Deco. So here I draw Deco, and I actually try to play the mind game on him, because he knows that I try to bluff him the turn before with Sangan. So I'm pretty sure he's also gonna think that I set another bluff, and he's not gonna fire the Mind Con, which is exactly what happened. So because I was able to play the mind game on him, I end up resolving this Dekoichi without getting punished. And not only that, but I also end up lowering the stats of the Zambira, which is not too big of a issue, but I mean, anything helps, you know. I top deck Duo, which is pretty nice here. I end up using the Duo, and I hit Sorcerer and Meta. Pretty good cards to hit. So I set the Serpent, hoping that now he ends up using the Minecon, because I represented to him that I'm willing to set real flips now. So maybe he's gonna think, oh, well, now he's setting real flips, I might as well Minecon now. But I end up going back to the play where I set a fake, a bluff. And let's see if he Minecons. He does not fall for the bait. I get back my Serpent. And now I end up setting this Night Assailant, because I just want to mix it up a bit. I know it's a bit weird, but if you look at this next turn that's going to happen, it actually ends up working out for me. So he draws Thunder Dragon for turn, and he says, oh, well, first he goes Graceful, and now he says enough is enough. I'm going to get aggressive. I'm going to start banishing your Sinister if you set that. But little does he know, I ended up setting the Night Assailant, so it ends up working out. And now we're back into this weird situation where we're playing mind games, you know? Because I know he has Minecon. He knows I have Serpent. So we're back in this mind game situation. So now I end up thinking for a while, and I just set Mirror Force and pass, because I know he's slowly losing his patience and he wants to get very aggressive. So Mirror Force might end up getting me the +1. So that's what I decide to do. But he just sets a monster, switches to defense, which is interesting, and passes it to me. I end up using the knock because I can't risk it. Here I set break because, well... So he sets another monster, sets a back row, passes it to me. And I end up going Raigeki Break on standby because I can't risk it. I really can't let a Magician of Faith resolve to get back Graceful. But it turns out to be a bluff tribe. I guess he's also playing around Minecon. So I just pass here because there's no way in hell I'm currently going to set this Magician of Faith knowing he has Minecon in hand. I'll get absolutely obliterated if he actually decides to fire it. He sets a monster, passes it to me, and I have to go ahead and Raigeki Break again because, you know, if he has another Moth, like I said earlier, I just end up losing. Can't risk it. And it turns out to be Moth, so great call here by me. He sets another back row, and I say, you know what? Screw it. Let's go ahead and heavy. Get the +1, potentially. And here, he changed the ring. I'm assuming that he changed the ring because he's afraid of... I'm actually not sure what he's afraid of. Because this Umbara's in defense, so it's not like he's gonna take damage from it. Yeah, I guess he just didn't want to lock himself, like goat lock himself. That's the only thing I can think of. Anyways, this ends up resolving. And here, I was like so into the game, but at the same time a bit distracted, that I actually forgot to activate Thunder Dragon here. This is bad. Don't ever do this in a tournament, guys. Make sure you're fully focused and paying attention. So, you're gonna see after this turn if I get punished or not. He top decks pot, which is scary. At least I gain 1,000. And I do end up getting punished, unfortunately. You know, I deserve it. I deserve it. Because I didn't pay attention. I forgot to activate the effect. That's on me. So now, I add the one Thunder Dragon, and whoever is watching this match, if they were paying attention, they're probably wondering, why the hell did he just add one? But it's because I wasn't paying attention. So now I just pass. I can't set this Moth because now he knows this is Serpent for sure. And he still has Minecon in his hand. I draw a Night Assailant. I keep it in my hand. And now, as you can see here, he only has 10 cards in deck. So I can actually play the deck out game and win by deck out. That's actually a legit plan. For turn I draw BLS, which is pretty nice, but there's no way I'm summoning it right now. I can't go for game. So I decided to go ahead and just set the Night Assailant because he knows I still have a Faith in my hand or deck. And he knows that the old set is a Sinister. So he might actually finally end up firing the Minecon. Which he finally fires the Minecon. It took so long for me to play around this Minecon. It was like 10 or more turns. It's crazy. So I end up getting the +1 off of the bluff set. So now I actually end up setting the real monster because, as you can see here, 2 Minecons are gone, a knock is gone, so I'm feeling fine setting the Faith now. So here, I actually just go ahead and don't resolve the Faith because I currently don't have game at the moment. I'm waiting to top deck a Sorcerer because once I top deck a Sorcerer, I can flip up this Fade, get back Storm, and that's game. So now we just play the patient game, the waiting game. And he's going to start doing stuff because I'm pretty sure at this point he's aware that he's going to deck out first if he doesn't do anything. He takes my Serpent, which I am fine with. I top deck my own Minecon, which is super late at this point. And now he's going to start doing the Souk Loop with Thousand Eyes, which is a bit of a problem. It's not the worst thing ever because this doesn't apply pressure. And he's about to deck out soon, so he has to apply pressure ASAP. So he takes my Faith, unfortunately, and now this whole plan of getting back Heavy Storm is ruined. Ruined. Absolutely ruined. So I guess I got a bit too greedy here. Maybe I should have just flipped up the Faith, take back the Storm, and hold the Storm until I draw a Sorcerer. I think that would have been the better play, looking back at it. So now I top deck Tribe, which Tribe is actually really good here because I can clear the whole field. But before that, I think it's better to wait a bit because I don't have Sorcerer yet, so it's not game yet. I can't commit at this moment. And also something that I noticed is he still has his own BLS in hand, along with his own Heavy Storm and Torrential, so I actually can't play the deck out game because he has ways to out this field and clear his own stuff. So I actually had to do something pretty soon as well. So he continues with the Souk Loop, but this time he has a Knock because he wants to start doing damage already, which makes a lot of sense. I take 200, not the biggest problem. And now he sets another back row. I draw the Sorcerer, but that new back row is a problem because, as you can see here, I only have 2 Solemn set, so I'm only able to stop 2 cards. I'm not able to stop all 3. Because, if one of those cards is like a combination of like Decree and Scapegoats, I lose. So here, I just say screw it. Let's just go for it. I don't think I can wait. Takes me a while to go for it because I really don't want to do it, but I think I have to. He asked me for Prio, I say yes. Get rid of that. Summon BLS. So he activates Torrential. I have to Solemn that because if I don't, my whole plan is ruined. Now I pop the the Thousand Eyes, and I summon Sorcerer, and I say, let's just go for it. I have Solemn. I can stop one of these back rows. If he has both answers, then it is what it is. I attack. And here, when he says enter battle phase and flips Decree, I'm thinking, that's it. My run is over. Because this back row is probably Scapegoats and I lose. But it turns out that it's not a Scapegoat and we end up going to game 3. So yeah, that game 2 was pretty wild. Now he's going to be going first. And my opening hand is Duo, Charity, Thunder Dragon, Spy, and Knock. This is great. I can't complain at all. This is exactly what I need for a game 3 situation going second. So he sets 2, passes it back to me, sets a monster as well, and I draw BLS. So this is nuts. But unfortunately he has the Dust Shoe, and this is actually something that many people would probably do different. You're about to see right now what I mean. So here he sends back Spy, right? So if he's sending back Spy, and he's fine with me keeping Thunder Dragon along with Charity, that gives me a huge hint that that back row he has set is Solemn Judgment. There's literally no other reason for him to send back the Spy instead of the Thunder Dragon. It just doesn't make sense. So I end up actually just activating my Thunder Dragons, and then I duo. I hit a Sinister, unfortunately, but the good thing is I hit Reaper. I hit Reaper, which is very important because I need all these cards in my hand. I really need these cards. I can't afford to lose them. And then I activate Knock. I have to, just in case it's Faith. And now I don't end up using the Graceful because my read is that that set is Solemn Judgment. I'd rather try to top deck into Breaker, Heavy, or MST, and then fire off the Graceful. So he gets back Serpent, sets a card, passes it to me. I top deck Minecon, but I don't end up using it because I know that's a pretty good chance that that's a Serpent set. Game 2, we played a lot of mind games, setting bluffs, so there's a really high chance that he's setting a bluff, which is likely Serpent. So I just go ahead and pass. He draws for turn, sets a monster, passes it to me. I draw Spy, so now I'm actually going to fire the Minecon on the new set, hoping that it's actually something real. And it turns out to be real, which is nice. The Spy, which is actually perfect because that gives me a dark monster on the field, and I'm able to bring out BLS if needed. So here, I finally decide to fire the Graceful because my read is that that's a Solemn set, and if he Solemns this Graceful, I win. The reason is that he's going to go down to 4k. I'm going to tribute the new Spy that I just summoned, and that's going to put Light and Dark in my grave. And because he didn't flip that monster the last turn, it's likely a Sinister, so I'm just going to go ahead and summon BLS, swing twice, and then that's game. So my read was correct, and he had the Solemn set, which is exactly what I wanted to see. So now, I just go ahead and do what I just said I was going to do, and that's game. So there it is. I end up winning 2-1, despite losing game 1. Due to some pretty good reads in game 2 and 3. So now I'm moving on to top 4, which I'll be talking about in a separate video because I'm pretty sure this video's already gone pretty long enough already as it is. So yeah, stay tuned for that video soon. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. This is Ghost Rider 15 signing out.